Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this. This is MMA AM for the 17th of February 2017. I'm your host, LK, from Kocosports.net. That's Koco Sports.net. So where the world goes to get cash, and for combat sports, and above all, where it's okay to be a passionate fan. Again, I'm LK from Koco Sports, and I'm joined by Kyle from Loudmouth MMA once again on this very cold Friday evening. How you doing today, bud?
I'm doing all right, man. It's amazing you were able to get that out. You said that so fast. You sound like an auctioneer.
I might do that. That's a great idea. No, I've done that, would say, probably around about 1,000 times in the past 3 years. So it's kind of just a habit. I did miss out MMA AM. That's half morning show, half mixed martial arts show. Pretty much all BS. So at least that's now in there as well. But how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm home with the kids. That's why you're not seeing my beautiful face. You're just seeing a picture. And you might hear my daughter in the background every once in a while, but I wouldn't worry about it.
So, right, what we're going to do here is every time we hear a noise in the background, you owe me $1.
Yeah, that's not going to happen because I'll probably owe you about $200 by the time we're done with this.
My PayPal will be sent to you, and you can send it in dollars. But what I mean by that, the thing is, though, if it's 200 times, you're going to have to send me about $300 because I want 200 pounds. Okay, I want my full money for.
Got it. Okay, so I gotta send you £1 a piece. Well, how about this? How about I win you some money? How does that sound?
What was that? Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
I said, so how about I win you some money? How does that sound?
Oh, right, I'll let you have the first £2.16 free because that's what that was my profit from last Sunday.
And you would have profited more had you listened to me on Anderson Silva.
That's true, but that one was me. I take the fall for that one. Actually, yeah, so exactly. So you have 4. We could say I would have won £2 on that. So you have 4 free kids screaming sessions available to you.
Awesome.
But anyway, what were your what were your thoughts on the actual UFC 208 itself? And I can't remember if I was listening. Yeah, I was listening to your post show with Keith, who we had on yesterday in the MMA Takeover. You doing some news, and you didn't really sound like you enjoyed the show.
No, I was not a fan. It was unfortunately, it was exactly kind of what I thought it was going to be. In the words of, what's that guy's name? It was Dennis Green, the old coach of the Vikings. They were who we thought they were. That's kind of how that felt. That was what UFC 206 was supposed to be and wound up not being. I mean, as far as I could understand the merits of it. I can understand why, maybe a casual fan or even just a fan in general, like why they wouldn't think that it was such a terrible card. So I'm not trying to say that it was terrible on that front. What it was terrible is that it was not worth the amount of money that the mass majority of people had to spend to watch it. It was a glorified fight night. It should have been free on Fox television and called a day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm different. I obviously didn't pay for the pay-per-view because it wasn't on pay-per-view over here. So it's a different ball game. I'm guessing if I did pay £20, I would have been like, hey,
$50.
$50. That's one. So we're up to one. That's £35-ish. I'd have had to pay for the pay-per-view if it was over here. And I tell you what, I'd have been pissed off if that was the case for those fights that we got. Which, it's not the fight's fault. But it was their fault for loading 205 up so much. They'll teach them a lesson, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a little bit. Or just loading 207 up, really. What they do is they load up a pay-per-view. Like, they load it up way too much. And then they blow their load, so to speak, and then have to do these filler cards that don't cost the UFC as much money. Right? That card, the entire card, didn't cost the UFC as much as probably Ronda Rousey cost them at 207. Right? Because 207, they had to pay Ronda Rousey $3 million. I doubt they paid all those fighters $3 million together.
Just for example, say they did 150,000 buys, which is still a decent amount of money, if they get that. Judging by, there wasn't a lot of people socially active that night. With that in mind, would you think they made a profit on this event?
I don't know if they think of it that way. I've talked about on one of the first, I don't even remember when I talked about this. I feel like I did on one of the news episodes. But anyway, it doesn't matter. One of the things I was talking about is that the UFC, they don't seem to look at it like event per event. They look at it in blocks of events. So they go, oh, in the last 5 events, we've made X profit. And I think they do that for the exact reason I'm talking about, which is they load up on one card and then they kind of skimp out on the next 3. And then they load up and then they skimp out, load up, skimp out. And that seems to be the trend. If you just go back and look at cards and go back in history, that seems to be a trend. And again, 206 was supposed to be that. It just didn't wind up happening, right? And then, of course, you have the fight nights and the UFC on Fox in between the pay-per-view events. So, after 205, it was kind of like poopy, and then supposed to be poopy, and then good, and then supposed to be poopy. You know what I mean? Like, that seems to be, it's cyclical. Geez, if I can say that word. Cyclical. So I don't think it matters whether it made money, whether the event made money, because I don't think they look at it that way. Right? I think they said, 207 made this much money, and that's what they're actually caring about.
So this show really didn't matter. Like, if you bought it, cool. If you didn't buy it, they couldn't give a
No. I mean, there's stuff that's worth watching just because it's UFC and you need to keep up with it. But at the end of the day, there was nothing really happened. That Anderson Silva Brunson fight, very much so could have just been a fight night. I mean, that Anderson Silva Brunson fight means nothing in the grand scheme of things because A, the right person didn't win, right? Derek Brunson won that fight, and B, the loss doesn't mean anything, right, to Brunson, and the win that Silva got doesn't mean anything. Even if it was a legitimate win, it still really doesn't mean anything because what's Anderson Silva going to do? He's not fighting for a title. Right, Derek Brunson, of the two, Derek Brunson was the only person that actually had any type of a legitimate, path to a title or something. Anderson Silva's never fighting for a title again, unless they just give it to him because that's the new model of the UFC. But
we talked about that yesterday.
Yeah,
we talked about that yesterday.
No, did you?
Yeah, we were saying how when George St. Pierre comes back, that he's going to jump Romero and Souza for the title fight. And I said they need to do it away so that, because they want to do Bisping. I'm guessing they want to do Bisping versus GSP. So they could do it away how they do Bisping versus Romero. Pray that Bisping beats Romero. If not, Romero beats. So just say Romero beats Bisping for the belt. That way, on the next pay-per-view, you can do GSP versus Bisping, non-title, special attraction match fight, that we know GSP wants. Then you could do Romero versus Souza. Winner of that fights the winner of Bisping versus GSP. That way you're getting 3 to 4 programs out of it, allowing the division to really look stacked on paper.
I wonder if the good thing that's going to come out of that Anderson Silva win, if that legitimizes a GSP Anderson Silva fight. Because that fight makes a lot of sense on a lot of different fronts. Because GSP is not going to beat up on Anderson Silva. He's never beat up on anybody his entire career. He just lays on you for 30 minutes or however 25 minutes. He just lays on you. So Anderson Silva wouldn't get hurt. And he has an awkward enough style that it would give a guy like GSP a little bit of trouble on the takedowns. So that fight is kind of interesting.
And Silva did have good takedown defense on the pay-per-view on Saturday, didn't he?
He did.
Or Sunday, whatever. Oh, we're up to 2. So you're close to using your free bets up. It's going to be interesting at the end of the show. But I'm not being serious, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about, I'm not actually going to charge him. It's just, it could be the fun little counter towards the end of the show. So we'll actually get to the early prelims. Ryan LaFleur defeating Rowan Carneiro via unanimous decision. The interesting thing here was when Carneiro hit his head on the camera. I thought that was the most interesting out of the bunch. What were your thoughts on the fight and the incident with the camera?
I actually missed that. But what happened on the camera? Why did I miss that?
Right, so basically Carneiro was backing up and the camera was kind of over the cage and he smashed his head. And this was the first of maybe 3 rants that Joe Rogan went on at the people of New York, the cameramen, the referee, the judges. Joe Rogan was hyperventilating on the fucking pay-per-view on Saturday over the bullshit that was happening, and I don't blame him. And I'm tempted to tune into the Joe Rogan podcast because I know he has a podcast on whatever it is and see if he talks about how much bullshit it was in New York. Because if it's like that, don't go back there. I know it's a new market, but don't go back there because the reffing was meh. You know, get the ref getting bored and separating them. You know, Joe Rogan was digging him for that a few times. Let them fight. You know, we'll talk about the Durand Domain Holly Holm incident. And then also, you know, the cameraman just being in the wrong place. Like Joe Rogan screaming, I've never seen that in 208 UFC pay-per-view events. Like he generally fell back and boom, hit his head on the camera. And the ref shouting at him, like, get your ass down from there, you imbecile. But go back and watch it.
I don't know how I missed that. I haven't even heard anyone talk about it.
Me and Keith talked about it yesterday on the show. I haven't uploaded that to iTunes yet because I had to sadly, once I finished the show, I had to go to bed and then I had quite a busy day today because today was I have the weekend off, so I had to sort loads of shit out. So all shows, today's show and yesterday's show will be uploaded to iTunes tomorrow in case you haven't seen it yet. Because I'm guessing you wait till the iTunes or Stitch is available.
I do now that I know that you're doing it, I'm going to start waiting for that. It's just easier for me at work. Yeah, but anyway, I for some reason, that had completely, I didn't see anybody talk about it on Twitter, nothing, or I just wasn't paying attention. But yeah, I completely missed that. That's cool, though. That's really funny. There was a lot of absolute nonsense that happened that entire night. I mean, you just you mentioned everything. I don't need to re-mention it, but there was a lot of nonsense. I mean, I don't know. But here's the thing. Because there was so much nonsense, I think it'll get fixed. Right? Like, I think it'll be addressed.
Yeah. So you have to make mistakes for them to know what to fix, and it will help them improve in the long run. Just don't do it on a damn pay-per-view. You know, people have paid for that. You know, interrupting the fight like that. Well, it was on Fight
and
Pass,
that ref. Yeah, well, and that ref should have never been in that situation where he was reffing such an important fight. He should not have been in there.
No, I completely agree. And then you have the first fight of the prelims on Fox, Rick Glenn versus Felipe Nova. And if I'm correct in the news that I read, hasn't Felipe Nova retired now?
He has, yeah. He was a male nurse, so he had not left that job. So he already kind of had one foot out the door anyway. He was a very inconsistent guy, so it just kind of makes sense.
Yeah, and Glenn won by split decision. Tough. It was a tough to call. My scorecard was 29-28 to Glenn, and the officials, the judges, who are imbeciles as well. And how about this? I'm going to talk to you about this. I talked about this with Keith, and you haven't heard of what I said. Now, what would you feel about having the judges watching the fight backstage on a monitor?
Backstage on a monitor?
Yeah, so they get the whole view of the cage, not just, for example, during the Anderson Silva and Brunson fight, Brunson was in the clinch and he was going boom, boom, boom. Maybe the judges didn't see that because they only saw Anderson Silva's back. So maybe they should get the angle that we get in an area that's blocked off from everyone, and they watch it on a monitor.
That is a very good suggestion. And you could also maybe put them in a soundproof room where the crowd noise doesn't affect what they're watching. Interesting. Yep. I like that a lot.
Dana White, if you want to pay me, you can just chuck in some money with Carl's PayPal fund. So that's okay. But the fight itself, it was okay. And I was just a bit sad that Nova retired because I enjoyed this fight. It wasn't the best fight, but it went 3 rounds and I enjoyed it.
Well, and it also, this is kind of and man, I really don't want to do this the whole time, but it's hard. To me, it's just a throwaway fight. Rick Glenn is not going to be in the UFC in the next 18 months. He's just not. And Felipe Nova already retired. You know, I hate fights like that. I hate fights where you're watching Rick Glenn's, and I'm gonna quote Sean Ihaz, who does the breakdowns with me. I'm not trying to steal his thunder, but I think it's a very good point. I hate watching fights, or just fighters in general. I don't hate anybody, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't like when a fighter's best attribute is their chin. Right? That's the only thing. So with Rick Glenn, the only thing that makes Rick Glenn even remotely capable of being in the UFC is he has a good chin. That's not good enough. You need a lot more than that. There really is not a lot of skill there. What made that fight fun to watch is that Rick Glenn could take a punch and could continue to move forward. But when he was moving forward, he wasn't really doing anything because he wasn't very good.
Yeah, I understand. It was okay, but it's just looking. What I think you're trying to say is because you know that both fighters aren't really going to do much. Obviously, Nova retiring and what Rick Glenn not going to be a megastar. they're fighting for the sake of having a fight, and the only people who are going to be interested are both families, both friends, both camps, and people betting on someone. And I think myself betting really enhanced my enjoyment of the show. So I'm not encouraging anyone to gamble, of course, but I betted £1 on every fight,
which is
I didn't
not
gamble.
much money.
That didn't even cover the cost of your pay-per-view. I couldn't even buy your pay-per-view with the amount I bet. So if I do that every single time and I never lose much money, I'm a win-win, and I get more enjoyment out of the fights. You know, because if I'm not like intensely watching it to the point where I want him to win so bad. If the other guy beats him, I'm going to be like, fuck you, fuck you. I'm going to be like, if the other guy beats him, that's cool. If I win, I win, but I want him to win, but it's not going to, you know, overturn my judge's opinion on it.
Yeah, well, and the other thing to kind of finish up on the other point, it's not that Rick Glenn won't be a megastar. It's just like he literally won't be in the UFC in the next 2 years. He just won't.
So that makes it even worse.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like he's not going to be a megastar, which he won't be, obviously. I'm saying he's not even going to be. He'll lose his next 2 or 3 fights and he'll get kicked out. I mean, or he's a guy that won't even get a third fight because there's, again, if you just watch that fight, he's going up against a guy. He's going up against one of the few guys that he was going to beat, and he barely beat him. And the only thing that made the fight interesting, like I said, is that he could take a punch. You know, there was no technical skill there. I'm not like trying to shit on the guy. I mean, but you watch those kind of fights all the time, and I think once you do, it's gonna make me sound super pretentious, but when you look into fights as much as I do with these breakdowns, those fights get really annoying. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, why is this happening?
Yeah.
You know, like this was the best they could do.
When it's in the wrestling that I've been covering for a while, I just say, you know, they went out there, they wrestled for the sake of having a wrestling match, not, you know, enhancing a story or a championship or anything. They're just having a match for the sake of having a match.
Yeah, exactly.
To fill time, to put enough fights on the card so you can use it. And we'll move on to...
that's exactly how that felt. And I just felt like there's other prospects. There's other guys at 145 that could be in there. Now, Rick Glenn, I'm glad it was Rick Glenn because Felipe Nover was just done. He was done. He had one foot out the door. You know, he didn't want to quit his day job. He had one foot out the door. At least Rick Glenn, there's promise because Rick Glenn could all of a sudden become something. You knew what what Nover was. Like, you knew what he was. And what you saw was exactly what he was. Rick Glenn could get better. So that's at least, if I'm silver lining, we'll just say that. If I want to look at it positively, there's some silver lining.
Yeah. And then we had Nick Lentz versus Islam Makhachev. Makhachev won 30-26. Well, that's what I put anyway. And he won by unanimous decision. I won the bet, so I was happy on this one. Post-match, Makhachev says Lentz has toughness, and he calls out Mayweather, which made me chuckle.
Yeah, of course. Just because of Conor. That's great.
Everyone damn calls out Mayweather these days. I'm expected to listen into your show one night, and you're like, you know what? I've done this weight loss challenge. Now I'm calling you out, Mayweather. Now I'm calling you out.
Right? Did you and Keith talk about the weight loss challenge?
No, it's just I've listened to your show.
Oh, nice.
So
because he's a part of it too now.
Yeah, you both do. Yeah, because I was listening to the show where you and Keith were on. So I was listening to the back and forth because he did it. Because I know you did the public video, and then he said he didn't do it. Which he did he do the public video next time? Because he did say he might do it.
I mean, sort of. I mean, I don't know if he beats me if I'm gonna count it.
You're calling him a hack? Is he going to cheat?
I mean, it was the video was suspect. We'll just say that he was wearing it looked like he was wearing a suit of armor weighing in, and he was wearing a hoodie. I don't know what he had on under that hoodie. So, I mean, who knows? He's had 2 bricks under there. And when he goes to weigh in on Monday, he has the same hoodie on without the bricks. I don't know. I don't know, Keith. I don't know what he's doing.
Dropped 50 pounds in the space for a week. We know that he's hidden those bricks somewhere.
Exactly. I mean, at this point, I'm set to lose 10 pounds in the first week.
Damn, that's impressive. Just
yeah.
I'm not an expert on diet or anything like that, but it's just don't eat shit. Like, it may sound so simple, but just don't eat shit. It's more difficult than that sounds. Yeah. It's way more difficult.
It's not though. Like, that's the thing is it's not any more difficult. It's exactly what it is. You know, like all I'm doing right now, I'm not even working out yet, right? Because I said, okay, let's kind of slowly go into this. You know, let's do what I can do. Let's not try to reinvent the wheel right away, you know? So,
Yeah.
you know, I'm just taking my time. I'm pacing myself. I'm not even really exercising yet. But I'm taking the stairs everywhere I go. So no matter where I go, I'm taking the stairs. So that's one thing I'm doing. I'm not eating candy, which is really hard for me because I'm a sugar addict. You know, just eating less, you know, like for lunch, don't like, you know, if we make pasta for dinner, don't eat 2 full plates of pasta. Just have one, you know what I mean? And put less sauce on there. Just little stuff, man. And, you know, I'm going to end up losing about 10 pounds because I'm already 7 pounds down and I have the weekend to try to lose another 3. So, and it's really been that simple. Taking the stairs, walking just a little bit more than I normally do around my neighborhood and just eating less food. Literally that, and drinking more water. That's it.
Water's a big, like, water gets me. Like, if, right,
I'm drinking tons of water.
Dude, this will make you sick. So this has been the past 2 weeks of in this office. That there's 2 bottles of Pepsi, big ones there. You got a No Fear Extreme Energy drink that probably took about 2 weeks off my life. And then
Right.
we have another big fuck ass bottle of Pepsi Max going on over there. I can't help it though.
Is that the cherry Pepsi Max?
Yeah, it's really good. It's the best. It's the best flavor they do.
I love cherry Pepsi Max. You cannot find that anywhere around here anymore. They used to sell it around here, but I can never find it.
Special offer. I was like, fuck, that's a big ball. I'll fucking grab one. But now with the point that I'm doing shows earlier, like I'm not staying up till 5 to watch wrestling live anymore. I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking mature. I'm old enough. Let's just do it. Watch it the next day without commercials, without killing yourself. Because I was getting to the point where I was not analyzing the show. I was analyzing the time. I'm there like, you know what? I'm not looking at the show because I'm there looking at the clock. Okay, if I go to sleep at that time, I'll fall asleep and wake up at that time, and then I've got to go see that person at that time. And it was like I couldn't spend time with, like, certain friends kept saying, "Look, dude, why aren't you coming out as much?" It's like, dude, I want to be a human being as well, you know. And you have a job, so it's kind of like, you know what? Stop this shit. Go out in your office from midnight till 3 a.m. Go to bed at 3:30 a.m. Wake up at 11 a.m. like a normal fucking human being, and that's 8.5, 9 hours sleep.
There you go. That's not bad at all.
It's perfect. And it's perfect. And then during that day, if I want to watch the rest of the show, I watch it. And of course I'll watch it. I'll watch every, you know, there's 6 weekly wrestling shows that take place from different companies. I will still watch all 6 and recap all 6. You know, I'll still recap all the UFC pay-per-views, all of the UFC fight nights. I'll still do that. I won't be killing my body. You know, I will be still kind of, you know, because it's still quite late now, but not to the point where, like, my parents were worrying, like, dude, you haven't had, like, no sleep and you got to go see Nad. What are you going to say? And then I was like, oh, God. And then it was just like, why don't you just still do all the shows? You can still do the exact same amount of shows. You can still do 2 to 3 shows a day. Why don't you just do them earlier? And I was like, I'm the dumbest prick in the world. I never thought about that. Like, it's fucking stupid.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I will say, man, I don't ever sleep 8 hours. I mean, ever. I can't remember the last time that I legitimately slept 8 hours. So you could also operate on less sleep. Although that's probably an American thing. Like, Americans sleep like 6 hours, which is why maybe that's why Donald Trump is president. You know, like that's the byproduct of only getting 6 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah, like 7 to 8 is the average UK. So I go for 7. So, for example, if I go to bed at 3, I can wake up at 11. 8 hours kip, you know, maybe 1 even above. You know, so that it just works better for me. And it means when I watch the shows, I can actually enjoy them. And that means so much more than you can imagine. Like having to sit up on Monday nights to watch shitty Raw for 3 hours at 1 to 4 a.m. I want to smash my head against the microphone. Like, it's not a fair recap and not a fair review if I'm tired.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm not tired,
that's very true.
I can come out here and it's opinion. It won't be sloppy. It'll be bomb. And, you know, it's like example on Sunday, I'm having the MMA referee, Bobby Wumbacher. Do you know that? Have you heard about that referee?
I have, yes. I heard you mention that too, and that's really cool.
Yeah, he's coming on Sunday, 4:30 p.m. my time, which is absolutely perfect. You know, he comes on, you know, 4:30. I get done in here, go and have dinner. Magical.
Yeah.
Absolute magic. Anyway, we're fucking going. I did say pretty much all BS, so that's perfect. And then we talked. What was your
Especially when
opinion?
I'm on. If anyone here watched the
Yeah,
last show I was on, we get sidetracked a lot. I get sidetracked a lot. So vicariously, you're going to get sidetracked a lot.
yeah, me and Keith yesterday got pretty sidetracked. I was like, okay, let's get this done in 45 minutes.
Right.
An hour and a half later, we're still fucking talking. And even post off air, we're still talking. I was like, oh, dude, I'm sorry here, but we're going to have to call it a night. I'm going to have to get to sleep sometime this year.
Right.
So you go that direction thinking, okay, cool. I'm going to stay down there, going to get good night. And then it was like, okay, cool. We're halfway there. We'll get there. And then you're like, oh shit, fuck. There's no point. Fuck sleep. You can sleep when you die. Let's just get this one fucking rock on a roll.
Right.
It's fun. It's fun, isn't it? I find it entertaining. I look forward to it. It gets me through. Like right now, I'm in the process of getting a new job, which don't want to talk too much about it because in case for fucking, you never know who's watching. You never know who's watching. So I'm hoping that goes well and I get that job, because the job I have at the moment I hate with all my heart. Like the only thing getting me through is thinking, okay, cool, I get to go do this. But with the other job, it's hours that are more like 10 in the morning, which will mean I'll have to go to bed at like 2 a.m. But it's a job that benefits my career-wise. Like, I see this as like my hobby, passion / career, like all three mixed together, if you kind of understand. Whereas this is like a business career, which could one day affect, the shows in a good way. So I'm just excited about that in general.
I hope so, man. Man. And I hope you get this new job. It sounds like a good operation.
It is great. It's administration work, so it's all office work, have an office here, paperwork, filing, just in there, and then you work your way up, and then you work, you'll be fucking swinging around in this chair, throwing money. I'll be sending you PayPal donations of fucking $200. Oh. Oh fuck! I better get that money. You gotta send me now, then. So there we have Wilson Hayes versus. I didn't write down because this was a topic of debate we had last time. Was it Hayes or Hayes? Because yesterday Keith called him Hayes again, and I wrote down.
I'm telling you,
I wrote down Hayes. I wrote down Hayes, which means I'm guessing that's what the commentary said. That's what I'm guessing the commentary said.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, it's Hayes. Like I'm almost positive.
Okay, cool. I like Sasaki, and I said this yesterday, and I said it the day before. I think that Sasaki will, even if he doesn't win a lot, I think he'll still be on the pay-per-view or fight nights or the cards because of him as a fighter. I found him so entertaining, sticking his tongue out, just being a cock. You need the good guys, have to have the bad guys to be better good guys, to be more popular. This is a guy you can throw in there with a guy who people like. He's not, not a megastar, but, someone they like. And now you have Sasaki going in there, sticking his tongue out, being a prick. The good guy to win even more, and they'll cheer him on even more. I generally think this time next year, Sasaki may not be in the top 10, may not be in the top 15, but I guarantee you Sasaki will still be in the UFC this time next year.
Well, what was cool about him is, I mean, the antics are whatever. I mean, I enjoy watching them. I don't really concern myself with it too much. But what I do concern myself with is how good he looked against somebody who should have gone in there and murked him within 90 seconds. Wilson Hayes should have gone in there and ripped his head off and walked out of the octagon. And not only is that not what happened, but there were a couple spots where Suzuki looked like he could have potentially finished the fight. And that's incredible. So good for him, man. And he's such an awkward flyweight. I mean, he's 5'9" with this massive reach. He's going to have such an advantage over people if that grit and that toughness and continue to get better skills. I mean, he could be a force to be reckoned with. One of the reasons why people were, so here's the thing. When you're doing these breakdowns, you have to do it for that particular fight. So when I'm saying that Wilson Hayes is going to go in there and destroy Suzuki, it has nothing to do with Suzuki or Sasaki. It has everything to do with Wilson Hayes, right? So I'm not saying anything negative about him. I'm saying that Wilson Hayes is just that good. So that's the thing. In the next fight, I could come out saying, "Ooh, Sasaki is going to come out and murk this guy." You know what I mean? It's all fight, but styles make fights, and it's all on a fight per fight basis. But yeah, I mean, this was a fight where Suzuki could have absolutely been destroyed, and he didn't, and he looked more than competent. He looked better than competent, and that means a lot. So good for him. Good for him. That was a moral victory. We'll call it that. It was a moral victory.
I think that, I've only been watching MMA for the past 3 fight nights. So fight night, pay-per-view. I came on here not talking about Hayes. I was talking about Sasaki. If you noticed, I didn't mention Hayes, and he's in the top 5. So Sasaki must have done something right if I'm on here talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And he really did. I mean, he really did do something that was a very big deal.
More fighters should go out and do that. I don't know why these fighters don't go out and market. That's him marketing himself. He secured himself a few extra grand by doing that in the future. Good business plan.
Well, the problem is that that self-marketing really doesn't mean much if you don't go out there and do what he did in the actual fight itself. Right, so sticking your tongue out doesn't mean anything if you get knocked out. So I'll give you an example. Look at Chase Sherman versus Justin Ledet. Go back and watch that fight. Chase Sherman sticking his tongue out, and it's just kind of goofy. But he got destroyed on the feet for 15 minutes. I mean, was absolutely picked apart. He then goes into his next fight with kind of a similar antic and gets knocked out in the second round. So doing that kind of stuff, doing that kind of self-promotion, doing those, it's cool, it's all fine and nice, but if you can't back it up, it doesn't mean anything. And I think my point is that while Sasaki lost, he was at least, I think, able to back it up because he hung in there with a tough top 5 grizzly veteran and really and truly held his own. And that's what I'm paying attention to, and that's what I think is awesome.
Agreed. So this, him being, such a douche, it could benefit him short term, but in the long term, if he really can't win fights, it really doesn't. It doesn't really matter. But
short term, yep, I agree. And again, just looking competent. I mean, really.
Agreed. And then we had Randy Brown versus Belal Muhammad. I scored Belal Muhammad 30-27. He won. Lost the bet, so I was a bit down. I have no notes on this, so I'm guessing it wasn't the best fight of all time. It was the only I didn't talk about anything apart from Muhammad pounding Brown's leg. That's the only notes I have. So either I was dying or it just wasn't the most interesting fight.
That's what's funny. This is actually, in my opinion, my humble opinion, this was actually one of the better fights on the card to me.
Which one was it that I put was fight of the night until? So I really enjoyed Hayes and Sasaki. Sasaki was my fight of the night so far. That's what I put so far. And then the fight of the night was Dustin Poirier and Jim Miller.
100%.
Hands down.
Yeah, 100% fight of the night was Jim Miller, Dustin Poirier. That was a fantastic fight. But Belal Muhammad, real quick, get back to that. First of all, it's the only fight I missed. I actually went back and listened to our show and listened to all my picks. The only fight I missed was Randy Brown, Belal Muhammad.
It was. I said you didn't have to go back and listen to it all because I have the book. But that was
I didn't.
That was the only one you got wrong. That was the only one you got wrong.
Yeah, and man, that was one where the fight finishes and you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like kind of what was supposed. It's not what was supposed to happen, but you saw that pathway. I mean, on the breakdown, I sang an R. Kelly song, about that fight. My mind is telling me no, but my body's telling me yes. I just knew that fight just was gonna. I had that feeling the whole time, but I kept just telling myself, Randy Brown is the better fighter. He's not coming in on a week and a half notice or 2 weeks notice. He's the better fighter, better pedigree, better camp. I mean, just the whole shebang. And I was wrong, and I'm pretty happy to be wrong.
Damn, Rose. I might go back and watch that on the Fight Pass tonight before I go to bed. Because I don't know. Maybe it was just I was a bit tired and I didn't take notes. Because what I did do is I watched up until the main pay-per-view. I watched that live. Then I watched the pay-per-view when I woke up. I knew no spoilers because I didn't go on social media. I literally woke up and boom, shot to my laptop and watched it.
That's what I
And
did for.
maybe
Sorry, that's what I did for 202. So
that's right.
202, the Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz 2. I did not watch that live. I had to shut my phone off. I was at a wedding, so a couple friends and we basically all shut our phone off. We stayed at my house, and we got up in the morning and watched the pay-per-view.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did, because it was coming up
Yep.
to 4 a.m. and I was like, fuck this. This pay-per-view's gonna go on for like 3.5 hours. There's no way I can do this 7:30. So I was like, okay, I'll just wake up and go straight to it, and it was there. So maybe that's why. Maybe I was a bit tired and being a bit naggy. But I might go back and watch it. And again, there is proof in the pudding. If I stay up too late, I'm not enjoying it and I'm not reviewing it properly. Proof was in the pudding right there. Proof was in the pudding right there. And here we go. Dustin Poirier versus Jim Miller, fight of the night. You know, I scored it 28-28 because I gave it 10-9 Miller, round 1. Round 2, 10-8 Poirier. And round 3, 10-9 Miller. So I got 28-28. But the official decision was Poirier. But my God, that last round, the last 2 minutes with the leg work was fucking incredible to watch. I felt bad for Poirier. I wanted to go in there and give him a wheelchair, the poor boy.
Yeah, I think they came back and said that. I think they said it wasn't broken, that nothing's broken. Although I should look that up before I say it too forcefully. But I think that is what was decided. So if that is true, I mean, thank goodness, because, yeah, you definitely don't want to see that. Yeah, I mean, Poirier's only losses, I believe, period, is Conor McGregor and a surging Michael Johnson, who almost knocked out Khabib in the first round of their fight at 205 or whenever that was. So Poirier is fantastic. Who, you know, the narrative is he needs to not get worked up before a fight. That seems to be what I'm hearing the narrative is. If he goes into a fight calm and relaxed, and you know, he's a guy who seems to be affected by head games. So he's someone that maybe if he fights like a Jeremy Stevens isn't going to do very well, but would do, or like a Frankie Edgar, you know, but he would do pretty well against, I guess he's fighting a 155 now, so those aren't good examples. But anyway, he's a guy who, if it's a Conor McGregor-esque mentality of a guy he's fighting, he's not going to do so hot. But Jim Miller's the perfect guy to fight because Jim Miller's not a shit talker. And Jim Miller's not going to try to get in his head or something. So I don't know if that narrative is true or not. I mean, I really don't know, but that I heard that before the fight ever happened, and he looked really, really good. So, you know, maybe there's some truth to it.
Maybe, but it was an enjoyable fight, and I recommend everyone, even if you're not a fan of MMA, listening right now.
Great fight.
Well, I presume you are, but if you're not, go back and watch it because it really was good. And then we had Glover Teixeira versus Jared Cannonier. I scored it 30-26 as the official result, staying 26 to Teixeira. It was okay. Post-fight, Teixeira says he basically put over Cannonier, saying he's a tough guy, and says he's going to step up to potentially become a champion.
Yeah, and I think I agree. That was another moral victory. That was another example of a moral victory. Cannonier fought a much better fight than what most people thought was possible, including myself. I did not expect Cannonier to be able to do that. Although you knew, I mean, he had fought at heavyweight before. His first fight or second fight at 205, you know, look what he did against Ian Cutelaba. I mean, he just picked him apart, did a lot of the antics that you were talking about that you enjoy. He was doing a lot of that stuff against a much, much, much bigger man with a lot more power and was doing those kind of antics. He was sticking his chin out, letting him punch him in the face. I mean, it was crazy. And, you know, he goes in there against Teixeira, and I think my mind was this guy has no business being in the octagon with a guy like Glover Teixeira. And Glover Teixeira is just going to pick him apart. You know, I didn't predict it was going to be a first-round finish necessarily, but, I mean, that's what most people thought. Most people were like, yeah, he's just going to take them down and just submit them right away. But yeah, I mean, again, same thing with the Wilson Hayes fight. I mean, that's not what happened. And good for Cannonier. He hung in there with a tough, grizzly veteran. Again, very, very similar fights, the Hayes in that fight. I mean, you know, hung in there, man. Hung in there and did his job. And once he fights, I think, you know, the competition he's supposed to be fighting, you know, which is like a notch or two down, he's gonna wipe the floor with them. So Good for him. I'm excited to see his future. I want him to get another tune-up fight or two, and then maybe fight one of those top guys again.
Okay, that's fair enough. Well, the bullshit about this, the referee making both men stand up after a few minutes of resting just because the referee was bored.
Yeah, that was weird, right? It was really strange.
Is that weird or is that bullshit?
I would say it's bullshit. I mean, that's definitely something that when it happened, I was not okay with it.
No, you can't just be like, oh yeah, you could be in a cage fight, but if you bore me, I'm going to make you stand back up. You know, if you're a wrestler now thinking, shit, I ain't going to fucking New York, they're just going to make me fucking go, no. He worked hard to get in the position they got in just to be separated. If I was a fighter, I'd have like put my middle finger up at the guy. Who the fuck do you think you are telling me what to do? It's not a fucking act. It ain't a soap opera. Just let us fucking fight.
Yeah.
No, Jesus.
Yeah,
but then
that was weird. You don't see that very often. I mean, you do see stand-ups, but you don't see a stand-up where they're moving that much.
Yeah, damn right. I'm gonna talk with the referee on Sunday in the afternoon. I'm definitely going to talk to him about that. What's his take on it, and what would he have done in the position? Well, because you don't know, because you could be that referee could have been told like by someone that get these fights fucking good because this has been a shitter, and then he's seeing guys on the floor like, oh my god, get up, come on. Who knows? And did you see Dana White on Fox YouTube channel talking about how he didn't enjoy the pay-per-view?
I did. Well, but that's what we all love about Dana White, right? Is that, first of all, he seemingly is an open book and will tell you how it is, but then at the same time, he's constantly lying to everybody, right? So it's this really weird mix of like, for when he's like being like bluntly honest and telling the truth, or when he's being bluntly honest and telling a lie in order to get something to happen. I think that was an example where he was just being brutally honest and just was like, yeah, this card sucked. Which, I agree. So
it's smart marketing. It's smart marketing, because if he tells you, I'm sorry, this pay-per-view sucked, and now he goes on to say, look, this pay-per-view will be awesome, buy it, he'll be like, he was honest about the pay-per-view being shit, but I now trust him because he tells me the truth. Okay, if he says it's going to be good, fuck it, it's going to be good. He tells the truth. Smart guy.
Yeah,
smart guy. He knows what he's doing.
I think a lot of people took that and was like, "Oh, what a shitty thing to do." No, guys, he knows. Dana White knows what he is doing. He is an incredible marketer.
Agreed. Then we had Tim Botch getting battered by Jacare Souza, the poor boy. Ended after just round one with the Kimura. Just get his ass out of there, the poor man.
What a fucking shock that was, right? Like, what else was supposed to happen? Like, I like, if anyone thought that anything different, I mean, maybe you didn't predict a Kimura. That's not necessarily what I thought was going to happen, a Kimura. But like, other than that, everything might as well have been scripted. I mean, you might as well have written that in that might have been might as well have been a TV show. I mean, that was the only thing that was supposed to happen. What the fuck was Tim Boach doing in that octagon with Jacare Souza? I mean, holy shit, that's nuts.
Guys in the top
Jacare Souza might be the number one. Jacare Souza might be he's not just top 15, man. He's top 4. I mean, he's in that top 4, top 5. And arguably, the only reason why doesn't have a belt right now was because an injury derailed him. And he lost a very extremely close split decision against the guy who's getting ready to fight for the belt, against Yoel Romero. I mean, Jacare Souza I consider him personally to be the number 1 middleweight. I mean, I consider him, I think he's better. I think he would beat Bisping right now. I think he would beat Yoel in a rematch. I think he would beat every single person in that division. So he's certainly going to beat Tim Boach. I mean, what the fuck? I mean, that's crazy. This is the most I've even cussed on a podcast, I think. I mean, I think I said this on when we were talking, but when he got the call for the fight, he was in an interview and he goes, yeah, when they called me to fight Jacare, I was confused. And I remember hearing that and going, yeah, guy, I'm fucking confused too. Like, I also don't get it. So maybe you and I can go try to figure it out.
He got offered money, he took the money and went home with it.
Yeah, I mean, I would have done it too, but...
Damn right, you would have, wouldn't you? You would have.
Of course, if you paid me, give me $10,000, I'll let Conor McGregor beat the shit out of me. I don't care. I'll do a lot less for. I'll do a lot more for a lot less money.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would need more than 10 grand to get punched in the face by McGregor.
Bullshit. If right now I said,
would,
here's $10,000, it's on its way to your PayPal, all you gotta do is let Conor McGregor punch you in the face, you are taking that money, period.
I have never once in my life, actually, minus when I was in like junior school, which I think I was about 10, ever been punched in the face. So to be punched in the face hard, not knowing how that feels from one of the fucking hardest men in the world, the toughest men in the world, no thank you. I would pass on that greatly. You know, if you said to me, look, I'll give you 15 grand and I'll let this schoolboy punch you in the face, so you know what it feels like, I'll be like, fuck it, do that, get him to punch me, so I'm getting paid 5 grand for my first ever punch, and it's like, okay, now I'm at 10 grand for the Conor McGregor punch. Okay, I know what a punch feels like, I know what to expect, I know what to anticipate. Then sure. So I really need to, I can't remember which person I said this to, so many damn codes. I remember saying to someone that, you know, I was tempted to, one of the live comments said I should try Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at one of my local gym. Maybe, but I've never been punched in the face. Maybe I need to. And then I think it was Keith last week. Keith said you should just go down to your bar and just start a fight on anyone as long as they don't have cauliflower ears and you'll be fine.
Yep. Yeah, agreed.
So that's the plan.
Go get punched in the face, man. Go do it. I've never been punched in the face either, so I'm there. But here's the thing: I've never been punched in the face. But like, if you give me even a halfway decent sum of money, I'll let anybody punch me in the face. Pain is temporary. I could make $10,000 last a while.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, yeah. So you just do it once and it's done and over with. He ain't gonna get on top of you and ground and pound you, is he? So just take one for the team. Get it done and get out. Like, get in, get out, and get your money.
Exactly.
Jeez, what are we talking? This is fucking talking about Conor McGregor punching us. And then we go to Anderson Silva versus Derek Brunson. Speaking of bullshit, I scored it 29-28 Brunson. What did you score it?
Probably 29-28 Brunson.
And the official result was 29-28 to Anderson Silva. Post-match, Silva cries because he shouldn't have won, so he's actually upset about it. No, he cries because it was a good moment. He thanks his crowd, all his family. It was a touching moment, but the wrong man won. If I'm Brunson, I'm pissed. I'm fucking phoning up Bellator, going, "Oh, he pay me more than these bitches. These stupid judges go fuck themselves." Jeez,
I was so confused. Were you really confused with his post-fight speech? Did he retire? I was so confused. It sounded like he was retiring, but just never said the words, "I'm retired." It was very odd.
It was more, okay, look, I think he hadn't won a fight in a while, had he? Like, properly. Because I don't think he won a fight in a while, correct? He was on a losing streak.
Yeah, he had lost 2.
Yeah, so maybe it was like, yes, I still have it. You know, that feeling of, yes, I can still hang in there with these guys. Maybe it was that of a feeling. You know, and it meant a lot to him.
Yeah, it makes sense. It was just weird the way he phrased it.
Yeah, that's understandable.
He was retiring. It was just so strange.
Yeah, that's understandable. And then we had the main event. We had Jermaine Durandame versus Holly Holm for the UFC featherweight title. I scored it 48-47 to Holm, but I did it under the bias of what Durandame did in the second and third round with the punches post buzzer. So with that in mind, if I was judging it not based on those punches, I would have given it 48-47 to Durandame. But because I was basing my judgment on the rounds, which is wrong, and I shouldn't have done it, but heat of the moment, I gave it to Holm. And looking back, because I talked about yesterday about how I shouldn't have let that affect the judging, but with that in mind, 48-47 with a score, 2 points should have been deducted from Durandame. It should have been 47-46 to Holm, because Durandame should have been deducted 2 points. 1 point at least.
Well, she should have been deducted 1 point. She should have been deducted 1 point.
1 point.
Get the first time it happens, you get a warning. The second time it happens, you deduct a point. And I would say, so with a point deduction, it should have been a tie. At the point deduction, it should have been a tie, which the only thing that would have made that fight worse is if it would have ended in a tie. If it would have ended in a tie, I'd have been like, I'm never watching the UFC again. You know what I mean? Like that would have just been, ugh. I mean, the fact that they're talking about a rematch, like I was on Twitter and it was like, the random meme was like, the only fair thing to do is to do a rematch. And Holly's like, yeah, we should rematch. I was like, about threw up. I'm like, please don't rematch. Please don't. Like that one fight was bad enough. We don't need to see a second one. We don't need round 2 of whatever that was. I mean, the punches after the bell were awful. They were awful. She should have had a point deducted. That was definitely a bad thing on the ref. I would ask Bobby about that, kind of see what he says. I think he might tell you that it's just they're human and you're in the heat of the moment and, who knows? Nerves or who knows? Definitely not as up in arms as other people seem to be with it because at the end of the day, it was a terrible fight that had a terrible build-up. The best thing about the fight was Holly Holm getting punched in the face 2 seconds after the bell rang. I mean, that was the best thing about the fight. I mean, it's just like it was such a terrible fight. I will say Durand Amin won the fight. So if you take away all MMA scoring and just watch the fight on that premise, the only thing Holly Holm was doing was holding Durand Amin up against the fence. When they were away from the fence, the punches that Durand Amin was landing was 3 times harder than anything that Holly Holm landed the entire fight. So I would say the right person wound up winning the fight. I understand there's some controversy there. But listen, Durand Amin's not going to be the champion in 6 months. So don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. She's not holding on to that belt, I promise. Neither one of those women are very good. So I would say the right person won for the time being. As soon as Durand Amin fights anybody, that the UFC brings in, any of those top tier 145ers, Megan Anderson probably would mop the floor with her. If they bring in any of those top tier 145ers from other promotions, she's going to lose. Obviously, if she fights Cyborg. If she fights Cyborg, I mean, good Lord. I mean, she'll get her soul taken from her. So I'm not that worried about it. It was an awful fight. Please, God, UFC, if you're listening to this, Dana White, whoever the new matchmakers are, I can't remember their names, please do not make that fight happen again. Call it a day. Durand Amin won. It is what it is. Call it a day. What's going to happen is Holly Holm is already appealing, and that damn thing is going to become a no contest. And I won't watch the fight. I'll protest. I will not watch that fight a second time.
You will watch the fight. You will watch the fight. No matter what you watch the fight.
Of course I will. But I'll be mad about it.
I will watch it, but I'll be extremely mad. No, it was.
I will watch it, but I won't be happy.
It was like I don't understand your hatred for the fight. Well, not hatred, your disapproval of the fight. I thought it was actually. I was entertained for 25 minutes.
Ugh. I mean, I was entertained because I was watching 2 people in a ring fighting each other. I mean, I was entertained on that front. But that was not a title fight. That's not what a title fight's supposed to look like.
That being the interim title until Cyborg comes in.
It was the interim title, but it didn't even look like an interim title fight. So the UFC hands out interim titles like hotcakes. But the interim title you're about to see between Tony Ferguson and Khabib. That's what an interim title fight is supposed to look like. Wait till that fight happens at 209. I mean, that's what an interim title fight is supposed to look like. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see. I don't want to see that fight again. I know that much. I really don't want that to happen. As long as that doesn't happen, I'm fine with whatever the UFC does in the future. But don't you think it's weird that on this card that's getting ready to happen in Halifax, why don't they have a 145 women's fight on it? Right? Don't they need to build up this division? Why are we not on every single card having 145-pound women fighting each other? How else are you going to build up a division?
You can't build it on an interim title belt. You have to wait until Cyborg comes back.
Well, but it's not an interim title belt. That is their real title. I mean, whether we agree with it or not, that's what it is. I mean, so why are we not having like 1 or 2 145-pound women fight every single card so that way we can try to find some people? You know,
That is
I'm
a
talking
good
lower
question.
level. I'm talking lower level. I'm not
No, I know,
talking
I know. Like you
yeah.
could do it on the early prelims if you really
Yeah,
want
let's
it, if you
get
had to.
on every single event for the next 3 months. Let's put on a 145 woman fight on the Fight Pass prelims, right? And let's start building up this division. Let's start getting people interested in watching kind of bigger quote women fight.
Yeah, I didn't. The thing is, the fight itself was okay, but like you said, I didn't. I was just waiting. Okay, whoever wins this, they're title holders till Cyborg comes back. But speaking of Halifax, what match could? Oh fuck, I hate calling it match. What fight are you excited for this Sunday's UFC show? And what time does
Um,
it start? What time does the early prelim start? Because I think it's an earlier time, isn't it, compared to normal?
maybe a little bit. I'm actually not looking at it, so I'm not 100% sure. Um, as I'm talking, I can look it up. But the fight that I'm the most looking forward to, probably Johnny Hendricks, Hector Lombard, probably the co-main and the main. I think they did a good job. I think these are the two fights I'm the most looking forward to. If the main and the co-main are kind of, if that's too easy to pick one of those, you got to pick another one. I would say to watch Zahabi make his debut. I mean, that's a guy who has about as much hype as any fighter I've seen coming into the UFC. So I'm interested to see what he's going to be able to actually do, you know, on a higher level. I don't know if you know anything about Zahabi, but his brother is one of the main coaches at TriStar, and TriStar is a really important gym in Canada.
Yeah, that's interesting. And for people wondering, it starts at the same time as the pay-per-view started, but according to this here, the actual fight night itself starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, if I'm correct, is that 6 hours behind me?
It's 5 hours, and 9 o'clock should be when the main card starts. There should be the prelims should be earlier than that.
7, yeah, 7, and then 9 o'clock is the prelims, 9 Eastern.
Or 9 Eastern is the main, and then 7 would probably be the prelims.
Yeah, I meant I just said it the wrong way around. Apologies.
And then there's probably the Fight Pass prelims are probably an hour before that or something. I don't know if there's any. I don't know how many are there, but usually they have the Fight Pass stuff at like 6:30 or something. But yeah, UK is 5 hours. Wherever you are,
Eastern.
is
Okay,
5 hours.
So that's cool. So that's 2 a.m. till 5 a.m. I'll have a late Sunday night fun. At least I get one late night a week. And the exclusive Fight Pass one is Gerald Mercheret versus Ryan James.
I've interviewed both of those.
US versus. Yeah? Who do you reckon's got that one?
Merchart. I interviewed Ryan James a couple weeks ago, and then I interviewed Merchart this week. So I've interviewed both of those guys. Oh yeah, I mean, this is a cool fight. Ryan James is one of my favorite people, man. I really love him as a fighter, but I think he's going to get beat. See, unlike Blake, I can put my bias aside because I am biased towards Ryan James here. But Merchart should win this. We can go through these quick. I know we're running long, so.
No, that's cool. I just hope that Blake didn't put any money on the pay-per-view. A lot of money on the pay-per-view.
Right? He misses quite a bit, but that's just because he's so biased. He has to stop being so biased.
That's amazing, isn't it? Amazing. I bet he just gets so angry, and then I bet he's like, I ain't interviewing him again. The bastard cost me so much money.
Right.
Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap this one up?
Let me look. Again, I'm excited about this hobby fight. I'm excited to see what Carlos Esparza looks like now. Let's see what Jack Marshall's made of. I mean, this is a cool little card. I wouldn't say it's certainly not any better than like what UFC 208 was. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to pretend like that. But I mean, I think this has a chance of actually being a better card. because expectations are going to be lower. The problem with 208 was expectations.
Yeah.
If 208 was a fight night, it's one of the best fight nights you've seen. But expectations, you know.
Yeah, understandable. But I hope it's a good fight. And go on.
This is a good. This is a good card. I mean, do you want me to? Sorry, my daughter is screaming right behind me. Sorry about that, guys. If you're listening to this, just FYI, if you didn't hear me at the beginning, I unfortunately my wife wound up staying late at work and that kind of stuff. So I'm at home with the kids. That's why you can't see me. So my daughter keeps yelling in the background. So hopefully it wasn't too much. We'll get back to normal next week when I come back on. I'll have my microphone. You'll be able to see my beautiful face. Do you want me to go through and just kind of make my picks?
Yeah, sure, go for it. Why not?
I can spend 1 second on each one.
That's cool.
Travis Brown. I'm going Travis Brown here. I'm going Johnny Hendricks with the upset. I'm going Sam Cecilia with the upset. I'm going Cesar Fiera, Sarah McMahon, Paul Felder. This is a tough one. I keep going back and forth on Talib and Ponzinibbio. I'm going to end up on Ponzinibbio, although I do see a pathway here for Talib. Carla Esparza, Zahabi, Santos, and Mearshart.
There you go. So there's your prediction. So if you're heading to the bookies, that's what you should bet on. If you use DraftKings, use them. I'll re-listen to the show and you maybe use the bet. Maybe. I'm not 100% sure because I might just bet on the pay-per-views because I don't know, but I might just bet on them. Anyway.
If I'm you, man, at least do a 3-person bet. At least bet on Sarah McMahon, Paul Felder, and Carla Esparza. Bet on all three of those.
I refuse to bet on anyone who has the second name McMahon. I refuse. Because
of Vince McMahon?
Yes, that old toilet. Yes. He's given me so much pain on Monday nights, you don't even realize. So I refuse to bet on anyone with McMahon. And before we wrap this one up, I did say at the start of the show that I would take a PayPal donation from you, depending on how many times your child made noise on the show. You owe me £15. You owe me £15.
Oh, wow. It happened 15 times?
2 of them were like, rah, rah. So it's kind of like 2 in a row, but I'm a little cheeky shit. I'm English. I'm a little conniving bastard. So I added another one on. But no, that was just a bit of fun because just so people got clarification if I was or not. But I'm only joking. I don't want you to actually send me money. But you guys at home could check out Loudmouth MMA podcast on iTunes and Stitcher Radio. I'm subscribed to both. You are on Stitcher Radio, correct?
Yeah, we're pretty much everywhere, man. We're on Google Play, SoundCloud. I mean, pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts, we're there.
Awesome. And if you want to listen to the audio version of this when you're at work, at home, having a wank on the toilet, having a wank on the train, having a wank on the bus, having a wank in a taxi, don't get caught with your knob out. But if you are, you can subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us try and recommend a 6-star recommendation. Get us a 6 stars. And also on Stitcher Radio, that's all now been sorted. And I'll be uploading this show and yesterday's show when I wake up tomorrow. That'll be the first thing on my mind to do. Get that uploaded so that you guys will be available for it. With that in mind, I appreciate you coming on once again. And I guess I'll have to see you next week. It's becoming a regular little spot here.
It is, yeah, man. I'm hoping for every Friday here. And again, sorry about the background noise. Sorry about the bad sound quality and having the no picture. I feel bad, but gotta do what you gotta do.
It's cool. I can hear you fine. Instant infantry in the live chat can hear you fine. Otherwise, they would have said something otherwise. So we all can hear you fine. Appreciate you coming on, even if you do have the children. And I understand. And I was only joking about the bet. It was a clear joke.
Of course.
I have no issue with it. You can't exactly just fucking kill your kids, can you?
Right. Although sometimes.
It's tempting, but don't. No matter how much the temptation, you heard it here first, you shouldn't. Okay.
Right. Yeah, so I like that. You heard it here first, don't kill your children. Just in case nobody else told you that, let us be the PSA to tell you that that's not okay.
Oh, brilliant. So once this show's finished, if you're listening live right now, I'll be going live in about 10 minutes with Wrestle AM. I'm going to recap the NXT show. and talk about the news. WWE legend and wrestling legend George Animal still passed away today, so talk about that a bit on the show. So that in mind, I appreciate you coming on again, Carl. Loudmouth MMA, subscribe over there. Check him out on Twitter as well and Facebook. You guys know the drill by now. Doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure it out. So more importantly, stay safe, stay golden, and we'll be catching your asses down the line.